Hello, today is a very special episode of PS with Jenn as we break down inflammaging and lowering inflammaging with Kangen Water. Today we have a very special guest. I'm so excited for Louise to join us. She has been at the forefront of all natural healing, educating and advocating for Kangen water and the science behind why it is so valuable in our everyday life. Welcome today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Louise, can you tell us a little bit more about your story? I personally get to see what everyone is dealing with, the consistent complaints or those trigger words that make me think, oh my God, you need Kangen water in your life. And I know that everybody could benefit, but there's definitely some certain people that you're like, ooh, I really want to make sure I can support them getting this into their world sooner than later. And I think by sharing your story, it will help navigate how we came to be together.
Yes. Okay, so my story goes back like 6 years ago, and actually probably goes back way further than that when I actually went on my holistic health journey. But really when I got introduced to Kangen water was 6 years ago. And so I'm somebody who was doing all the things. I have been, like you said, at the forefront of holistic healing ever since I became a mom. You know, when we become a mom, we start to think of things differently. What are we eating? What are we putting in our body? What are we using to clean our homes with? Like all the things, right? And so I went on this journey and I was doing everything that you would have thought. I should have been the healthiest person out there. Eating right, grow a lot of my own food. I'm a homesteader. I have a big garden, exercising, eating right, sleeping good, managing all of my traumas, like all the things. But I still suffered from chronic health issues. I could not figure out what was going on. First thing, I had low energy, like chronic fatigue. I'm a very energetic person, but I just did not have energy anymore. Some days I didn't even want to get out of bed with my kids. And they're like, Mommy, come play. And I'm like, oh, you know, and that was a big thing. And I see that with a lot of people today. So that's just definitely one of those. And then a few other things, I had dizzy spells and vertigo, which to me are very similar, but the vertigo was just much more severe, where I couldn't even get in the car and like drive myself to the chiropractor because I didn't want to switch a lane. Like if I had to look over to switch lanes, my whole world was spinning. It was really scary. And again, couldn't figure out like why this was happening. And then the last thing was my blood sugar crashes, where I was just, it happened sometimes a couple times a day. And it was this cycle of me just, you know, doing my thing, just doing whatever I'm doing. And then all of a sudden I would start feeling it come on. I would start getting shaky and I would start feeling like if I don't need something right now, like something really bad is going to happen. And I would start shoving my face full of anything that was in front of me because I felt like I was starving. And then all of a sudden I would get to this point where I was exhausted and I was like, I just ate all this food. And then I was like, I need to go and like lay down.
Take a nap.
Yeah. And one time I even passed out on my living room floor and my husband was like, whoa, like this is gone. Like there's something wrong here. But when I went to the doctor, they were like, your labs look great. Everything's fine. You're a tired mom. And I'm like, what? Like this makes no sense. Like clearly not everything is right. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. And so, you know, just knowing everything that I knew already on this journey I was on, I was like, I need to take this in my own hands. Like, I need to figure out, like, what is actually going on with my body. And that's when I was introduced to Kangen water because somebody who knew more than I knew cared enough to say, have you heard about this water? And are you willing to try it? And I was a little bit desperate, a little skeptical at first. I was like, this water, like, how is this going to do anything for me? But sure, I'll give it a try. And that's when I was, you know, that's when my eyes were open to like the fact that not all water is created equal and that you know, is water that has properties that can actually help us. Not that it's healing us, but our bodies are designed to do that themselves, right? They're designed to heal. They want to be efficient. They want to heal, but they have to be given the proper tools. And so because of my experience, I was open to trying something new. And now I don't have those issues anymore and I feel so much better. And my energy's back. And yeah, so I get excited.
So nice.
Yes, I get so excited to share with people because I'm like, when you go from not having energy at all to feeling better and having your energy back, like you will tell everyone. Like if you are suffering with low energy, like you've got to be willing to try this because it really can help.
Yeah, we were very similar in that way. It's like, okay, I have 5 children and I was working in the emergency room and it was in between my 4th and 5th that I started with the skin rashes and fluid retention. I was like, I drink a lot of water. I actually actively choose the healthy foods. They make me feel better. If I eat the pizza or I'm like, I need that nap that you're discussing. And so I had gone to the doctors. It was like, I'm changing and things are different and I'm not recovering as well and my energy is low and I just don't feel well and I'm having troubles losing weight and same thing of like your labs look good Let's get you a dietitian and let's try this phentermine, or how about we send you to the endocrinologist and just make sure your thyroid's okay. And, some of these, what about a hysterectomy, or how about, this anti-anxiety or antidepressant? And I'm like, I do have a lot of kids. I'm not going to fight you on that. And I know that can be wearing, but this is different. Mm-hmm. And you feel a little bit discouraged. And I was trying all of the things of like, I had weeded out some of the toxins. I was buying organic. My husband's like, why are you spending all that extra money? And I'm like, I don't know yet, but I know it's important. And so it's a whole journey of navigating decades of trial and error in what is worth the investment and what is not, because some things do promise that they have a better opportunity for you and they're just marketed well. And so when I think about Powell Studio, I love our Powell Performance Program because what it does is it helps me to navigate an opportunity where I can say, I have tried all of the things and I have done them out of order and seen how even a good thing might not work well. And I have done them with strategy, and I have been able to say like, okay, those things that were good that weren't working for me before are now coming to light and being so efficient and so powerful. And so at Powell Studio, we see all the time people are coming in like, I think I need hormones, or I need peptides, or I need the next trendy thing. And I'm trying to slow them down to say, okay, let's look at you as a whole person. And when they're saying that they're inflamed or they have some of these symptoms to start, I'm thinking, wow, we really need to go back to the foundational basics. Let's get to the root cause. And we know, there's no minerals left in our soils anywhere. And so if we're not repleting them, then we're not getting them. And based on science, things are floating in and out of our cells. They balance each other. This topic just came out, came up in the office last week of a young gentleman who passed away at 37 because he had taken peptides that were GHK copper. Well, he didn't know he needed to balance zinc in his body. Mm-hmm. And so the same thing with sodium and potassium in and out of the cell, floating. True hydration is really important. But if every cell in our body is inflamed, they're not floating in and out. They're kind of stuck in limbo where that's your fluid retention and your puffiness. Mm-hmm. And so having the ability to incorporate Kangen, and we'll dive deeper, but like that hydrogen being able to penetrate any level of inflammation is just remarkable.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, like before I started drinking the water, I actually had my body scan. So I actually ran a business in California. I ran a thermography business. For those that aren't familiar with thermography, we do like heat detection tests. Many people go looking for thermography for early detection of like breast cancer, things like that. But I ran a thermography business, and when I was introduced to the water, like I said, I kind of touched on it earlier, I was a little bit skeptical because I was like, I don't know. Like I'm already drinking water. Back when I was going through all of those issues I was just telling you about, I actually wasn't really drinking anything other than water. Mm-hmm. And so I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't understand how this water can be any different. And I was told like, oh, well, it's alkaline water and there's, it's a higher pH. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. But when it actually started impacting my health and actually made me feel better, I didn't really fully understand why and the way that my brain works. I'm like, I need to understand this. So anyways, before I ever took a sip of the water, I actually had my body scanned by one of my technicians. I was like, I just want to see. I was already on a health journey. So my scan looked really good, mm-hmm. For what I would expect it to look. But I did have some inflammation in there. And so you could see some inflammation in my abdomen area. You could see it all there. And, or at least the heat patterns that indicates inflammation. And so anyways, 1 year later, after drinking the water, I had my body rescanned. And I saw the significant reduction of inflammation that was visible in the scan. I was like, whoa, I felt it during that year. I knew something was happening. But then when I could actually see it in the scan, I was like, wow, actually inflammation was reduced in my body. And I'm no longer having those issues I was having, something's happening. And that's when I really dove deep into the science of Kangen water. Why does it work? Why do so many people have a resurgence of their health when they start to drink it? Mm-hmm. So many people with different issues. Maybe it's not the same issues I had, but they drank the water and they felt better for whatever they were dealing with. And it was like, what is this water? What is this? And yeah, I started diving pretty deep into the research and just, the inflammation's huge. And molecular hydrogen just being the main benefit of the water. Well, of course, the proper hydration as well, because obviously, for sure, hydration is foundation for health. But with the hydration and then the combination with just having that molecular hydrogen in the water that's able to help you hydrate more efficiently and also help reduce that inflammation, it's just wow, this to me is something that everybody needs to know about because it's something so simple. We are all drinking water every day anyways. Mm-hmm. So if we could actually be drinking water with molecular hydrogen every single day, like, it's like part of me is just like, everybody needs to be doing this, right? Like,
Yeah, how do we get one to everybody?
Yes, how do we get one to everybody? Exactly.
So we noticed, just to give a few examples, this is where I could talk my science forever, but nobody understands what it means in their everyday life. And with this huge surgence of everyone trying to like detox and lose weight, you can't do either of those things if your cells are inflamed and you're not truly hydrated. So that's how I bring it back for clients of, I'm trying to make sure that the effort you're putting into this outcome you're trying to deliver of losing weight, of removing that excess toxins that you were exposed to, or having that increased energy, that inflammation in every cell traps the fat. It traps the toxins. It leaves everything there. And so you have an unhealthy cell that's supposed to function optimally to provide your efficiency to work out or your ability to sleep well. Your recovery patterns are different. Your blood sugar was your example. And so what happens is you have any sugar. I don't care if it's an apple or an ice cream. It's still sugar in the body and your body has to process it. Well, yours stayed free floating because in your cells it couldn't get. They were inflamed and you had that inflammation you spoke of. And so your energy levels were crashing. Right? And because you weren't able to fuel your cells in a way that were helpful, you would have those peaks and valleys instead of a steady energy pace. And so when you had the Kangen water, that hydrogen molecule is so small, it penetrates even into the inflamed cell. It allows for those toxins to flush. It allows for the fat to flush. It allows for the sugar to now get in and out of the cell because that inflammation goes down. And the only way I actually knew before Kangen to help people get rid of that is more supplements. And everyone asks for more. And I'm like, okay, well, we think about our omega-3s. We think about things that lower inflammation. First, we test, always and identify what caused the inflammation. Let's look at your lifestyle. Where can we pull back on opportunities that are creating inflammation faster than you can process them in your body. And they're everywhere. We have our environment, our perfumes, our cleaners, everything. But even our oxidative stress, our emotional stress is inflammation. And what are we doing to prevent chronic inflammation instead of, that acute, I need to challenge the body, which is okay. We want to push, we want to work out, we want to, run that marathon, or we want to do something that challenges us, but we need to have optimal recovery in there as well. The Kangen water was the first thing that I was so thrilled to say, I need not one, but two in the office because I have them for other providers to know about to bring to their office. But I also use it every single day in our wellness space so that our clients can enjoy optimizing their cellular health and their repair and their wellness journey with me and have it bring to light lowering oxidative stress and lowering inflammation so that weight loss I'm coaching them through or that lowering of inflammation so that we can get rid of their eczema to decrease the amount of daily medications that really are masking symptoms, unfortunately, and only requiring bigger doses because the message isn't even getting through in the first place, It's been so impactful to be able to say, let's take away several of these supplements that I know aren't great, but we get fatigued with taking so many extra things. And our body is so remarkable. It does want to heal. And so this has been tremendous to say, okay, bring your water bottle every time you come until we can figure out how to get you yours. This is something that we need to strategize and organize in your treatment plan. It will be more efficient. It will lower the inflammation in your body. It will help every other investment you're making to come out better and last longer.
Yes, I love that. I love how you always talk about the order of what needs to happen because it's so important. If the foundation, I always think about a house. If you built a house on a broken foundation,
we use this analogy all the time, right?
Yeah, it's your house may last for a little while, but it's eventually not. It's going to crumble at some point. And so when you get that foundation right, then you can start building on top of that. And so I love how you just talk about that. The order of everything is actually important when you can do things with strategy, with hydration just being one of the most important things. And then I also love molecular hydrogen being so unique too, and how it can deliver all of this, because I think that there's so many, we can talk about reducing oxidative stress and fighting off the free radicals and the damage that can be caused by them because we don't want free radicals in our body, even though some free radicals are there and they're necessary and they're there for a reason. One of the things I think is so unique and so amazing about molecular hydrogen is that it's selective. It doesn't just go in and start to neutralize all of the free radicals. Some of them are there that our bodies they're supposed to be there. it actually goes and targets the most harmful free radical in our body, which is hydroxyl radical. And that's the one that's going to cause the most damage. And so when we start thinking about that oxidative stress, what's causing the inflammation, what's causing all of this damage within our cells, it's like, well, when we can neutralize that specifically, which is what molecular hydrogen does, that's why it's so good at reducing the inflammation that's happening because of the hydroxyl radical that is, floating around your body, wreaking havoc on your body. And so I think I love the fact that it's selective. I love how you touched on how it's so small.
Yeah.
The smallest antioxidant known to man, like it can get deeper into the cell than any other antioxidant. And you think about the molecular weight of molecular hydrogen is 2 Daltons, or 2 atomic mass units. And when you can compare that to something like vitamin C, for example, which is another big antioxidant people love to take, it's has a molecular weight of 176. Or CoQ10 with a molecular weight of 863. Like these are not, so I'm not saying that those aren't important and don't serve their own function, but just saying like when you compare by size with molecular hydrogen having a molecular weight of 2 Daltons, I mean, it is so tiny.
Yeah.
It crosses the blood-brain barrier. It can get into the mitochondria. It can go really, really deep into the cell and actually deliver the benefits where they need to be delivered. And so, again, it can just help at different levels that other antioxidants can't necessarily do. And so it's so important to know that when people start to say, well, why does it work different or better or than something else, and it's like, well, it has unique properties that don't exist with other antioxidants, and how it's so small and how it's so selective, which is just really neat when you think about it.
And the science is so important. Although, people can get overwhelmed by it. I think about I like to think about lowest risk, biggest impact on everything that we're doing in the office and how we're trying to help people organize their treatment plans and strategy. And vitamin C is wonderful, but its half-life is very short. And so how it can be as efficient requires huge strategy. And then we have other things like NAD that's putting all of that energy back into the mitochondria, but it wakes up good and bad cells. We don't have any of that risk when we're thinking about hydrogen, water, and molecular health and having the ability to support. I do love to have people envision, think about this cell. And when it is healthy, think about that blue color where things are floating in and out of it really smoothly and being able to be balanced and ongoing, where when it's inflamed, it's like one inflammatory particle gets in there and boom, it's on lockdown. There's nothing that it can do to help, and it's just trapped in there, and it's creating chaos. And we only have so many cells in the body, and we replicate them. So if you're going to continue to replicate bad, unhealthy cells, that is when we trigger autoimmune and cancers and diabetes and all these other things that we really are like, why are these things on the rise? Why are they so impacting our environment and our loved ones? And how do we prevent this? How do we get away from this? And I never like to say anything in particular is healing, but when we have the opportunity to have that healthy cell where things are fluid and we have strategy around our day and how we're incorporating all of these things that help us to flush those negative radicals and to keep stress low in the body. I always use the analogy, empty your bucket faster than you're filling it. Mm-hmm. And so when we have different environments, my husband's a fireman, and so he's exposed to a lot of toxins. And then he also has his own business where there's, cutting stone and irrigation, and God only knows what's sprayed on the grass and all of these toxins and pollutants. And so, we thought about him. It's like genetic testing was great to show, like, actually you have no risk of cancer because of a cancer gene, but you have slow methylation. So his body's ability to remove toxins at its starting point with no interference is slow. And that's where you create the support. So the Kangen water is in our home. I also have that at home because I said to him, he's like, the well water's fine. I'm like, it's great. It's not bad, but here's where the troubles are. Our neighbors' Prozac is a little bit in there. The neighbors, the microplastics, everything is filtered just enough to be healthy, but it's not in there. Right. And so he was like, well, we got a filter for under the sink. And I said, that's wonderful, but it strips everything, good and bad. It's like an antibiotic. When you need it, you need it. And it does get rid of everything, but it takes everything good and protective. And so how do we incorporate giving our body back what it needs in order to have that energy and that vibrant skin and glowing and healthy hydration and optimal digestion and overall health and balance of hormones, when you think about that inflamed cell, all the receptors are on the outside of every message we try and give it. They go flat. And so if we're throwing extra hormones and extra medications and extra things at it, they receive none of those messages.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's really powerful. I love what you bring up about the water being stripped too with the filtration, because I think that's so important for people to understand the difference between what we have here and what a filter is too, because I think that was one of the things I also thought when I first started looking into Kangen water, because I thought, well, I drink water and, filtered water is good. Of course, I think it's like definitely the first step, right? Mm-hmm. We have different steps, and I think that having that filtered water is so important. But what we do with the Kangen water is like we're actually transcending that water. Like it doesn't mean that we don't have filtered water. Like our water is filtered, it's nice and clean, and then we transcend that clean water and we put it through that process. And the process that happens within a Kangen water system is called electrolysis, as you know. And so electrolysis, what's happening with that electrolysis process is the creation of molecular hydrogen. So when you have that filtered water, it's like you may have clean water, which is great, but then you also may have over-filtered water when you have all the minerals removed. What you said earlier about sodium being probably one of the most important things that you have to have in your water. Otherwise, that cell is not going to be able to receive that water. Mm-hmm. So, you can drink a gallon of water a day and still be chronically dehydrated.
Absolutely.
If you don't have those electrolytes, if you don't have that sodium in that water, it's not actually entering your cell. Mm-hmm. And we know that true hydration is going to be water inside the cell, not outside of the cell. And so, so we have to have those minerals. And then also, I think having that filter is great. You're filtering out the contaminants, but not removing the minerals. Mm-hmm. And then when you throw it through or undergo that process of electrolysis, which is what's happening within our systems, then you're able to structure that water in such a way that your cells can receive that more efficiently. You're reducing the surface tension, so those cells can actually absorb the water molecules more efficiently, and then you're creating that molecular hydrogen, and you're elevating that filtered water. You're taking that filtered water up to the next level, and you're giving it properties that most people don't even really know exist.
No.
But they do, and it's been around for a long time. Molecular hydrogen is not a new thing. In fact, our own bodies create molecular hydrogen. It's just like what you said earlier about how the bucket thing that you mentioned about filling your bucket or emptying
your bucket faster than you're filling it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things, right? It's we can create some of this, but I think our world has become so toxic that it's almost like our bodies can no longer process everything as fast as it used to, and get exposed to toxins and be able to neutralize all of that, where we're just bombarded on so many different levels. And that doesn't mean that we live in a place of fear because we're oh, the world's a toxic place, we need to be scared of our world. It's no, we live in the world that we live in, and we just know that there's tools that we can use to combat that and help arm ourselves with the tools that can help reduce the oxidative stress that's being caused by the fact that we just live in a more toxic world. And that's what having that hydrogen-rich water can do for us so well. So I love that you brought that up. I think it's so important for people to understand that, filtering the water is great. It is. It's definitely a first step. But, when you have the Kangen system, when you have that filtered water, you transcend that filtered water and you turn it into structured hydrogen water. You are taking it to the next level, and you're literally giving your body something that is going to help your energy, help your inflammation, help you, in every single way possible, it's going to help your cells function. And when you have a healthy cell, you have a healthy body. So it's
all those messages can get through, and everything that you want it to do on its own are able to happen.
Right.
And there's nothing that's impeding it. There's no extra that you need to throw at it. It's really just being able to say, I'm consistent with my hydration so that the different messages that are coming in and out of my body are able to be received, and I am able to flush all of those toxins. I'm able to metabolize hormones the right way. I'm able to know that stress isn't going away. Like you said, it's part of our life, and embracing and being knowledgeable about it instead of ignorant or hiding from it. Oh, it wasn't like that when I was a kid. No, it wasn't. You're not wrong. I don't disagree with you. But, in the 70s when they started spraying glyphosates on all of the food, and they started adding convenience to everything with seed oils and fryolators and takeout being more convenient and part of our everyday instead of a special occasion, and having things that were packaged in plastics. It opened up the blood-brain barrier, and it allowed for toxins and different chemicals and different things to get deeper into the body where it used to stay superficial. It couldn't get in. They were too big. Just like we talked about, good things being of different sizes, the bad things are too. And so they weren't able to penetrate the cell, or they weren't even, so we were able to flush them out, but they have become so prominent and so impactful in things that we choose every day. And that's where, just like even at Powell Studio, we give out, these beautiful glass bottles, and you can see all of my hydrogen rich bubbles in here. And this is my everyday, all day drinking that we enjoy at Powell Studio, because I want my team to be efficient. I want them to be alert and attentive. I want them to be healthy and strong. And all of our clients are enjoying this. My family is enjoying this. I'm like, enjoy your sip. It's like so good. Talk.
I was going to say, it's making me thirsty, all this talk of water.
Mm-hmm. So good. And you can tell the difference, between this and something that's in a plastic bottle. And even, what happens is it has hydrogen when they get it from these beautiful sources, but it dissipates over time because it's a gas. And they're placing it in a plastic water bottle, which is really hard to do something different. The cost is up, the breaking, the changes, but that hydrogen gas is going to run out by the time it hits your store shelves. And so you're not getting that in the moment hydrogen that we are able to achieve, because it's going right from our Kangen water system into our water bottle and into our mouth. So it's full of hydrogen, where when we get all of these hours of transport in a hot truck, maybe placed in the sun, full of microplastics, that's the water that you're drinking. That's supposed to keep your cells fluid and not inflamed. Well, it's like a struggle all right from the get-go, right from the beginning.
It's like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Just by drinking water, which is what I'm telling you to do. I'm like, so tricky.
I know, it's so hard. And I will say, too, like, even just taking a sip of that, where it's like, oh, it's so good. It's like, it tastes good. Yes, it tastes good, of course. But even more than it tasting good, like, it feels good when it goes down. Like, do you notice a difference? Like, you can actually...
I was so inflamed for so many years, and my histamine response and everything was just really struggling.
Yeah.
And now I do really feel so hydrated, and I look forward to, refilling, where before it was just like a not understanding of how impactful and how powerful it was, because I didn't get the benefits before. When I would hydrate. I was like, okay, I'm doing it because I know I'm supposed to.
Right.
But now I'm doing it because I know it makes an incredible change in my day and all my other efforts that I'm putting in.
Yep, exactly. I feel the exact same way. Every single time I fill up my glass of water, I feel excited about drinking the water. I don't have a sloshy, weird feeling in my stomach that I used to have whenever I used to drink other water. It feels good, and I know that it is making an impact. It's not just something I'm like checking off the list. Have I drank this many glasses of water a day? It's like, no, like I enjoy and my kids too.
Yeah.
I don't know about your kids. My kids love the water.
My whole family, just like us, being skeptical to start, and like, I had to really convince them. And as the mom, that can be even trickier, because what do moms and wives know? Not a lot, right? We're just like, I'm going to be the girlfriend and the auntie in my next life, because they are cool and they know everything. And so I'm like, from that standpoint, guys, I promise you, think about the science here. Think about, what we're trying to achieve. And we want to make sure, what it doesn't have is ice. And so now we need the ice maker that is incorporated into the Kangen water system, so that it's nice and cold, because we want that balance of cold water, because it is coming right out of, at home, we have an underwater system. And so that is attached to the cabinet, and we have a separate water spigot. So we have our main one that does our dishes, but the separate water spigot that we change the pH in our Kangen water system, and we use it for different things in the office, or different things at our house. So you think about just our drinking water, we're doing 8.5 to 9.5 pH. And so today when we filled yours, my Jenny was like, she's got to be 9.5. I'm like, of course she's 9.5. She's been drinking it for years, but let's just make sure. And those different pHs allow for a deeper dive of detox and removal of oxidative stress and antioxidants and all of that. But then I think about, our plants. I've never been such a good plant mom. 8.5 in all the plants. Or my dog had, hip pain, and I feel like between our Kangen water for her dog bowl and our BPC 157, she's really absorbing and has just become so much more youthful. And it's crazy to witness, because everyone's like, take her to the vet. And I'm like, For a surgery, she's a retriever. She's just retrieves and runs and chases. She'll never heal well. And so how can we maximize our opportunity at home to support her? And then the kids, water bottles, all of that stuff for sports and just seeing them recover because they're so intense in their activities. Every kid's got to be an Olympian now, so they're playing so many hours a day. You want their muscles to truly hydrate and to repair and to recover optimally. And so I see it incorporating in a positive way in my household every single day, all day.
Yeah, I love that so much. I feel the same way. And with all, literally thousands of people that have, millions of people across the world, but thousands that I personally know that have started drinking this water, the same thing, whether you're a full-blown athlete, whether you're just someone who loves to go to the gym. You're talking, stamina increased, your recovery is much faster. There's so many benefits to if you're very athletic too, just, with the reduction of the lactic acid buildup, like all that stuff that happens
huge
during intense activities and all the things. So I don't think that there's actually anyone out there that wouldn't benefit from Kangen water. I think that for the most part, and what I would say too is the fresher that you can get it, the best,
Yes.
So when you pour it directly from the Kangen system, you're going to have the highest concentration of molecular hydrogen. And because it's a gas, like Jen talked about, it can dissipate over time, or will dissipate over time. And so the fresher you can get it, which is why I always recommend, if you can, have your own at your own kitchen sink. If not, make sure you're definitely getting it when you're here, because there are a couple different ways you can get it while you're at Pal Studio. But yeah, I think that having the water on a daily basis, I don't know a single person that hasn't had the water and experienced some sort of benefit from having it. So it's just, it's amazing. And it's definitely one of those things I think is foundational for health, obviously water, hydration. And then when you can add that molecular hydrogen to the water, you're just up leveling that and, really truly turning it into, an experience. Water was just water before, but now water is truly it's a health, someone's oh, a health water. In Japan, actually 53 years ago, when these systems were first created, they are a certified medical device in Japan. And they were originally certified for those with gastrointestinal issues, that they were actually noticing the difference between patients that were drinking this water. They had tons of studies out there, so you can look them up on PubMed. The scientific medical term for this water is called electrolyzed reduced water. So if you want to look up something on PubMed, that's what you look up. But for those with gastrointestinal issues, that was the first thing that was ever studied with this water. It's been around for 53 years. And over in our side of the world, it's maybe kind of feels newer, but it's not actually new. It's not a new technology.
No, when you hear people have had their devices for 45 plus years,
yes.
You're oh, okay.
Yes.
It does last, but all of the benefits of cleaning surgical equipment and sterilizing your home. We can use that 2.5 pH versus your 11.5, for so many different things.
Right. Yeah. And so when I first started talking to, I used to go to events and go to these chiropractic conferences. There's thousands of chiropractors, and lots of them will walk up to our table and they're like, "Oh, you have Kangen water." I'm like, "Yeah, you ever heard of it?" And so many of them are like, "No, tell me more." And then others were like, "Oh yeah, I've had this thing for 20 years. Can I fill my water bottle up?" And I'm like, "Sure, that's what it's here for." But it was the Autism Health Summit last year. I actually spoke at the Autism Health Summit last year, and it was all about molecular hydrogen. I had a ton of people come up afterwards. They all came to my table. They're like, "Oh, the water, we've been wanting to try it." And this one guy walks up. He's had his Kangen machine for 43 years. And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yes, my parents," he wasn't even 43. He's like, "I literally grew up with this. My parents invested, they're from Asia." And so anyways, he was over in the States, but he said that I said, "Is it still working? Please tell me more. I need to hear this." And he said, "I replaced one part 5 years ago and it still works."
Yep.
And I'm like, this is insane. This is the quality of Japanese products. They don't make things to last just one generation. They are not looking to make the cheapest product. They're looking to make the highest quality one. And that's what they've done, which is why you see so many people that have them 20, 25 years later, or 43 years later, which was what I actually interviewed this guy, because I was like, "Please, can I interview you? Because this is unbelievable."
Yes.
And it's not unbelievable because it's true, but it was just it shocked me a little bit, because it's just, you don't see things made that well anymore in a society where everyone's just trying to cut corners and, outsource from cheap parts from China or whatever they're trying to do to make the cheapest thing possible. And I'm like, but what about the quality? The quality is really what matters. And that's what the Kangen system is. It's the highest quality ionizer, medical grade. If there was a medical certification in the U.S., it would be a medical, but there isn't one here for ionizers. But in Japan, it is a certified medical device, which is really cool.
And that's what, I love. That makes me think about this conversation I had over the weekend with my daughter and her boyfriend of prevention versus correction. And I think of autism, and I think of pregnancy, and I think of like being your healthiest self, because what you're carrying then converts into our starting point for the babies that we have. And I think about, I mean, I have 5. So my starting point for my daughter versus my starting point for my youngest was a very different space of stress and environmental toxins and, stresses on the body and hormone fluctuations and inflammation. I told you, like in between that 4th and 5th, I changed in a noticeable level. Like I'm sure that all the changes were starting way before that, but in an impactful way that it was impeding me to pay attention on a daily basis was in between 4 and 5. That I was not recovering the same, that I wasn't having that same opportunity of weight management and bouncing back like I had in the past, despite the scenario of chaos or stress or what environment I was in. It just wasn't staying the same. And so I think about investing strategically, and I say, how do you want to do it? Do you want to do it with optimal health, or do you want to do it correcting your health and spending it in prescriptions and hospital visits and doctor's appointments? Because people will say, oh, I can't afford that. We had this similar thing happen because we also have in the office something called a biomat. And so people think it's a heating pad, and I'm like, oh gosh, no. So here we are with like these incredible crystals that lower cortisol levels, but it's anywhere from $850 to $2,500. And I'm like, but here's the benefits, that we're going to prevent disease and be able to optimize health and have that be something that we put at the forefront. So how do we organize that with Kangen and just have, simple monthly payments? If you're buying cases of water, you're spending a couple $100 a month, hydrating through that. But like we mentioned, taking on microplastics, not actually hydrating, and not really getting any of the benefits that you're looking for. And you can convert that into payments towards your Kangen water system and be able to have it in your home, pulling right from the faucet, the most hydrogen-rich treatments of, hydration, and being able to enjoy it at the forefront.
Yes, I love that. I love that there's options. I think that the payment plans definitely make it more accessible for everyone, where if you're interested in getting a Kangen system in your own home, there is a way to make it happen. I think that's one of the best things about it, because I agree with a lot of the things that you're saying. Is some people might say, oh, I don't know in the beginning, but if you understand that you can actually break that up into, payments of even as low as a couple $100. And if you're buying bottled water from a store, you're probably spending about that. And I always look at it like, if you're buying bottled water, it's like you're renting your water versus like, owning your water, where it's like, yes, you may spend less than a couple $100 a month at first, but that's a forever payment that you're always going to have to make. Whereas, you may pay like a little bit more on a monthly payment, but then after 2 years or so, you don't make any more payments, and that water is yours. You own that water. So, or you own the ability to, create that water, which is just, it's phenomenal. It really is. There's a way to make it happen for anybody who actually wants to make it happen. And I think that anyone who understands this water, really, truly would want to make that happen. I know for me, I was really skeptical at first. And when I was first told about it, I was like, I don't know. I don't understand this water. I
get that a lot. I feel like I hear that lack of trust, or that little bit of hesitation, because people have tried so many other things, and they're like, well, why is this different?
Right.
They need to know
the
why.
Exactly. I did. I mean, at first I actually didn't really fully, I was kind of desperate for something that I actually invested without really knowing the science. I was like, okay, whatever. I've heard some stories, and I was like, that's fine. I'll just take the water. I'll see what happens. And then once I knew about, once it helped me, then I needed to understand the science, because I got to a point where I was like, well, I want to tell other people, but I needed to know why that was happening, because I can't just be like, you should try this water because it made me feel, I don't know. I just needed to know.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
not going to cut it.
Yeah. And with my business, I had so many people that were coming to me that were on their own holistic health journey, but like me, they were doing so many things right, but they were still struggling in big areas. And I was like, well, if I'm going to tell them about something, I need to understand what I'm telling them about. And that's when I really dove deep into the molecular hydrogen and, discovered this tiny molecule, but makes a huge impact. And that's when I was just like, everybody needs to know about this, and kind of went on a mission to make it the information more accessible to people, broken down in a way that you can understand it, because sometimes you go and read these studies and you're like, okay, this sounds great, but what does this even mean? And so just being able to relay the information so that everybody can really truly understand it, and then also just be able to spread it out to as many people as possible, because once you start to experience the benefits yourself, for me, I was like, I don't want to keep that to myself.
No, making an impact is the most rewarding part of having Powell Studio Academy, our Powell Performance Program. All of those different opportunities is to support others overcoming the challenges that I faced that I didn't have someone to mentor me through. And so sharing more information about Kangen water and why this optimal health option is here and how you can get it in your home, in your business as fast as possible and start seeing the impact yourself has been so important to me. We have so many offerings. So like simplifying one podcast at a time, one message at a time, one website page at a time has been so impactful. But I think when we can have these conversations, people understand like, oh, that relates to me, or oh, that actually answered a question I have, and help them to take action. Because there is that thoughtful consumer but they're also confused with all the noise of like, why is this one better than the little hydrogen water bottles? And I started with those, I had those, and when I traveled, I would see a difference. But considering the price that we talk about, those monthly payments, it was more than my monthly payment, and it didn't last long. It actually broke, and then the filters weren't working, and I noticed the bubbles started to decrease pretty quickly, unfortunately. So when it was new and working well, I loved it, but it did not last in a year, unfortunately, because I was using it, daily, which is what I want to do. I think the more consistent you can be with something, the more efficient you're going to be. We don't want to do something every so often, because then you're not consistent and you're backing things up, your progress, and then trying to get it to go. So you'll be discouraged, never seeing and overcoming those challenges and getting to the wow.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. 1 year versus 43.
Yeah, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. And we can say, like I mentioned, at home, we have under the counter, but here we have 2 that are on the counter. And that's intentional. It's to bring up conversation. Like, what is that? What does it do? And being able to show someone without like really digging out the underneath of the cabinet. And so can you share a little bit more about the different pHs, like how you're utilizing that in your home? I would love for you just to give that last little tidbit and then, we can wrap things up because I know time is valuable. But I would love for people to truly understand the differences between the different pHs that we're using. We know hydrogen is incredible. We know that as it runs over the plates that it's becoming hydrogen rich, and it also is incorporating the minerals. But the pH is something I wanted to just address a little bit really quickly.
Yeah, I love that part, because I think that the third thing that I always think about is the fact that it's pH controlled. And so we have so many different there's 7 different pHs that you can select, right? Mm-hmm. And so we go as low as a 2.5, which creates hypochlorous acid at your own kitchen sink. Now, this is not meant to drink, so we're not consuming this, even though if you did swallow it, it wouldn't harm you, because your white blood cells of your immune system actually create hypochlorous acid on its own. So if I was to fall off of this platform and scrape my knee, hopefully that's not going to happen, but if I was to fall and scrape my knee, immediately my immune cells wake up, they say, oh, something's happened, and they would send hypochlorous acid to that site of injury to start working on the repair. And so with our water system, you can select a button and it actually creates that hypochlorous acid. And so obviously one is internal, it's working within your body, and one is external, but it's not harmful. So if you accidentally swallowed some, it's not going to hurt you. But if you swallow too much of it, you might have an upset stomach or something, but you're not going to have to like call poison control like you would if your kid swallowed bleach. So your hypochlorous acid can actually be used to sterilize if you make it fresh. In some Japanese hospitals, they have used it to sterilize surgical equipment. When it's made fresh, it actually is so disinfecting that you can use that. You can use it to help heal wounds. You can use it to clean your surface. You can replace any of your all-purpose cleaners with it.
That's where this expense, like these other expenses, we can minimize and completely dissolve them.
Yes, and the expense and also the toxicity of it. Because, when I used to clean, I used to even try to get like the non-toxic cleaner stuff, but still, like I wouldn't want to like close my bathroom door and let my kids in the bathroom while I clean my bathroom, because the fumes, the toxic smells, I'm like, this is not good for you. But with this, I don't care. Like, I'm like, hey, my 2-year-old, I'm like, you want to come help mama clean? Yeah. No problem. There's no toxicity here that I have to worry about. So that's the 2.5. And as a homesteader, I will say too, I've used it on my animals. I've used it on my plants. Like I've had fungus on my tomatoes. I was able to save an entire tomato crop. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can use it outside of the home as well. I could be here for like an hour talking about that, so I know. I'll move on. The next one is going to be your 6.0, which is called Your Beauty Water. Mm-hmm. And you can use that for your skin. You can use it for your hair. You can use it for your Your plants too. Plants actually love it. It actually matches the closest pH to rain is 6.0. And so anyways, the 6.0 is really great. And also we have the reverse polarization technology within our system. So if you run a 6.0 beauty water, it actually helps to repel any of the calcium buildup that inside your machine. So it's kind of like a self-cleaning cycle. So the 6.0, then you have the 7, which is neutral. As someone who ferments a lot of food, I use a neutral. And so I do a lot of like fermentation from like sauerkraut. I do water kefir, all that type of stuff. Like I just use the 7.0. If you are someone who takes time-released medications, not all medication, not supplements, but time-released medication, if it's designed to release after a certain amount of time, you want to take it with neutral. Because if you take it with the ionized water, it could potentially break down sooner than it's designed to and not open up the where it's supposed to open whenever it gets like to your intestines or to wherever it's supposed to go. And then also if you're making like baby food or something like that, like you're supposed, or like baby formula. So, and then you have the 8.5, the 9.0, the 9.5. And I kind of look at this as like level 1, level 2, level 3 when it comes to hydrogen. The pH is somewhat of a misnomer. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it's not the most important part. The most important part is that when you do select 9.5, you are creating more molecular hydrogen in your water. And so Jen mentioned earlier, like she's been drinking this for years. Of course she's at 9.5. You do work your way up to get to that point, because sometimes if you just jump straight into a 9.5, you may actually detox. Yeah, you could have a detox reaction, which we know is a good thing. Like if you're, but it's not always an unwanted, or sometimes it's unwanted, right? The side effect.
We always say sometimes, you have redness when you use retinol, and then it's an acute, says repair, recovery. And that's not a bad thing, but if you're not anticipating that, then it creates panic.
Yes.
And so we don't want to develop skin rashes or make you need to go home and take a nap or to have loose stool. These are not things, upset stomach is not the goal. But that's why we can trend in from that 8.5 to the 9 to the 9.5 slowly and gradually, depending on how sensitive someone is and where they are on their healing journey.
Right. Exactly.
That gut health is everything.
Yes. So you work your way up a little bit. We have a little process. If you end up investing in one of these systems, you'll learn a little bit about how to work your way up gradually. And then the last one I think is really cool as well is the 11.5. And so this one works as a degreaser. And my husband, who loves to clean, he's actually cleaned his engine of his truck with it. Like we, as a homesteader, again, we've used it in so many different ways. But I think one of the most common ways you'll see people use it is by soaking their produce that they purchase from conventionally.
I actually tried this at home and was amazed at this part, because we think about, like my son said recently, Mom, this apple's weird. It's got a film. Like a complete film on it. And even if you run it under regular water and try and take, a cloth to it it doesn't come off.
Doesn't come off, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how even like organic produce, it's like they're still sprayed, just because it's an approved organic spray doesn't mean that it's not sprayed. And like every single thing in the field, you have to think about the field. It's like the farmers, they use oil-based pesticides and herbicides because otherwise the rain would just wash everything off. And they can't have that happening. It's very expensive to spray your fields full of all these chemicals. So what you have to do is you have to buy a veggie produce cleaner or something like that. With the 11.5, you don't have to do that because it actually emulsifies with oil. So it does strip off the oil-based pesticides and herbicides from your fruits and vegetables. And so you're able to, of course, I try to buy, grow your own if you can, or go to a local farmer's market, or doing the best that you can. But hey, sometimes you're going to the store and you're buying a conventional bag of grapes, and it just is what it is. And so knowing that you have the 11.5 to be able to soak off as much of those pesticides and herbicides as you can, that is probably the most common use for the 11.5. You also can use it as a stain remover. You can even replace your laundry detergent with it. It's like I know people that don't even use laundry detergent anymore. They literally just use the 11.5 because it's able to remove the dirt and the grease and the grime and all the things that can, trap into your clothes. So 7 different pHs, like literally 100+ uses that you can have in your home. I
definitely am not getting to all of them. I need more.
I feel like when I first got my Kangen system, I literally just got it for the health benefits.
Yes.
And so I didn't even really explore all the other pHs at first. I just drank and felt good. And I was like, wow. And then I started seeing and hearing more people. And I was like, I'll try this and I'll try this water. And then before you knew it, I was like, whoa, I'm obsessed with all the pHs. And so now I've used it in a lot of different ways, and I just uncover new things all the time.
That's the thing, trial, how it incorporates into your home and into your lifestyle, and seeing, the benefits. It has to be personal in a lot of ways so that you can believe in it too.
Yes, exactly. When you start doing it yourself and you start having those experiences, you will want to start trialing more stuff. You're like, oh, I want to try this. I want to try this. My mom, actually, I felt really bad. My daughter, we were at my mom's house, and my mom she has a very nice house. It's very clean. Everything's like, I'm like, do you live here?
Yeah.
You sure you live
Yeah.
here? Anyways, my daughter, she ended up just, it was one of those moments
Yeah,
where
yeah.
she wasn't feeling good, and she just all over my mom's carpet and everything, and it was like a bright yellow, like just.
She did it well.
Yeah, she did it well. And we went and got the 11.5, and it came right up. And my mom is, because my mom's had her Kangen system for years, but she does not use all the pHs. She literally just drinks the water, She loves it because she's had a really great experience with it. And she had ulcerative colitis, and she has no polyps. Her last colonoscopy was completely clean. Like, she's had a really cool experience with the water, but never dove into the other pHs. And I'm like, Mom, you have go get the 11.5. And she's like, what? Like, didn't know what I was talking about. And anyways, completely cleaned her carpet with the 11.5, and she was a little bit freaked out because it was like really gross. So yeah, there's so many ways. It will help reduce your toxic chemicals that you have to buy from home.
Yep.
And it will help save money in the long run, because think about never having to buy cleaners or degreasers or, stain removers or all the things. Like, you can even replace mouthwash with the 2.5. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can replace.
I actually have done that.
You have done it, yes.
I have.
It's like your teeth feel so clean.
It's so much better. And we went on this whole kick of the organic, products, of organic deodorant and non-toxic this and the toothpaste and the mouthwash, and trying to explain to the kids what's in all of these products, and my husband, and just saying like, hey, let's just try and see what happens. And everything tasted terrible. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like my mouth is cotton and dry and it doesn't smell fresh. And so using the 2.5 for mouthwash has been way more satisfying than any of these other products that I was spending a lot of money on navigating, so I can then refer out to everyone else who's curious about how to make better choices.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so one system does it all.
Yeah.
One system does it all. And so, so the Kangen system is definitely one of a kind. I mean, I think I focus so much on the health benefits of the water just because that's what drew me in. That's what really got me so excited about the water. But when we do think about health as an overall, puzzle piece, or also reducing toxins from your home, reducing the exposure to chemicals is also a huge part of it. So yes, we're drinking all the healthy water, but when we're also reducing some of the toxins that we're being exposed to, we're helping ourselves in a whole different way as well.
Your bucket feels so much lower.
Yes, I love the bucket. Exactly.
Right?
Your bucket feels lower, so you can keep emptying it more
efficiently. Yeah, I mean, this has been such an incredible experience to talk through this with you, to see how other people are using it, to see how you can take it to a whole nother level outside of functional medicine, root cause thought process, cellular repair, and longevity and wellness. And so thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything that is coming to mind that you would love to add that maybe we didn't touch upon?
No, I just want to do a nice little cheers with you.
Yes, right?
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun. I think that I just enjoyed talking about this so much. So I just appreciate that.
I think that's what it is there's so much passion behind everything we do in here. And this was just one small snippet of how much we talk about the Kangen water system, how we want everyone to have that longevity and that wellness, and how we can impact more people with awareness. And so cheers to Kangen water, to bringing us together into our health.
To our health. I love it.
So good. So good. So if you are interested in your own Kangen water system, please take a look at the Powell Studio website. Please message us at the office. The girls are here to help you, to make sure that you get all the information, all of the support. I know there's so much information included in this podcast, and I hope that you loved today's episode. Thank you. うん。